Hello and welcome to the second section of 5.2 Costs and Revenues. This is coming part of the topic 5 Operations Management from 6.11 up to 7.31. All the stuff in 5.2 is really helpful to get you onto 5.3 when you're ready to do the break-even analysis. We'll go into the next part for the study notes. I've put on here a quick reading for you. The trickiest part about this bit is the costs and profit centers and doing the contribution analysis. The costs and profit centers tend to come into your Part C section in paper 1 a lot. They like to sort of ask you why it's a profit, why it's a cost. Hopefully by the end of this you get the whole point of a profit and cost center and why they need to be kept under control. Have a quick read through the notes. And we're going to be doing 66% declarative about cost profit centers. And I'm going to show you some skill stuff with the contribution analysis at the end. The math is pretty easy, but the steps of it get a bit tricky. Once you've done it a few times, it's pretty easy. Alright, we'll jump into it now. I've got these same videos from last time to have a look at. This lady here is quite detailed on what she gets into. This video really does put into context. And if you want to see it all sort of working in a real life scenario, have a look at the mega factories with Lego. It's very useful. There are 3 things for the IB learning outcomes. First one, can you explain, probably for 4 marks, the cost and profit centers and what they're there for. What's the value of them? So giving 1 strength and 1 weakness, because analyze level 3 for 6 marks. Why it's there for a firm. And this bit here, so doing some maths, doing contribution analysis. If you've got multi-products in a different firm, what should you do with each of the products if you go through? And this is again analysed for 6 marks. Bit of a tough one, this section here, but go through it maybe a couple of times and you'll get it. I'll try to my best to explain it to you. Alright, getting to definitions, most easy, straightforward way of doing a cost center is basically it's part of a business that just makes cost. It doesn't have any revenue coming in. So all it really does for a business is have total fixed costs and total variable costs. Some businesses look at this as being a part that just needs to be controlled constantly. The more you control cost, the more you decrease the muda, the more you allow yourself to have productive capacity heading towards 100%. The profit centers though, the profit centers is the bit where there's both revenue and costs being made. So because there's revenue and cost being made, there are 2 different targets the managers and the workers have to try to meet. In the cost center, there's just 1. The big idea with this one is the apportioning costs. When you're apportioning costs, you're going to use the 2 different types of costing methods, and this is the HL stuff you'll find in price. With full costs and absorption costs, the stuff that's spelled out in the textbooks is mainly just full costing. So you're going to actually allocate out your total fixed costs by thirds or by fifths, or depending how many products you're going to be using, or the floor space being used by the machinery and the equipment. When I get into the example, it'll make a lot more sense. Other part you'll see is contribution analysis. And this is basically, once you've worked out the numbers, what do you then do? Do you keep it and maintain it and invest in it, or do you divest and remove it out? So you'll hear me talking about cost and profit centers a lot today, doing some maths, and then there you go, doing some math, and once it's finished up, what should you do with the numbers that you've just discovered? Alright, pretty much in every organization, doesn't matter if it's a profit-based, a non-profit-based, or a non-government organization, every area is going to either make a cost to the business, or it's going to make a cost and a revenue. By splitting them up into 2 different areas, rather than just having every area needs to be controlled and monitored, by saying one's a cost area, you can have different motivational goals and motivation to get them there. And when you know it's cost and profit on the other side, you can have different motivation and communication to make them happen too. In your cost centers, they essentially just make costs. Now I'm repeating myself a lot here, but you're getting your wages and your electricity. Your TFC and your TVC is appearing a lot. So as you go through the numbers, you're going to say, this place here, we really have to keep the costs under control. Cost containment. In the other area, you're going to have these making revenues and costs as well. See, it's going to affect your TR, your total revenue, your TFC, and your TVC. You're going to get sales in these profit centers. These are the kind of things where you might have a service center within a car, a car industry. So if you take your car down to Toyota or Ford, the service area is going to be making sales because they're going to be selling stuff, and they're also going to be having a lot of wages to be paid for the employees. The cost center, though, might be the factory at the back where they're making the cars. They're not actually selling anything. All they're doing is paying for wages and employees to do stuff. When it comes out to the service center, though, when you can start charging for the repairs to the car and the changing of the oil, you can make money, but you also have to pay for the workers that are in there too. By splitting up into two different areas, you can make different morales and different cultures. It's important for business to have the two areas split, because if you treat them as one, you can demotivate a group of people who are going, all I do is just do cost. How am I supposed to make any money for the business? For managers in these areas, so the idea is about holding them responsible. In a cost center, they have to control costs. So if you put a budget out and you say, these are the budgets we're supposed to be expecting it, you want that amplitude, that wave, to be as small as possible. There might be some fluctuations going up and down, but you can predict what the costs are going to be. In the areas where there are profit centers, because there's going to be sales coming in, you actually have to bring in a marketing angle for the managers too. How are they increasing their marketing above the line and below the line to make sure sales are increasing, as well as controlling the costs that they have been delegated to. The whole idea is that if you're going to make someone accountable and you're going to motivate them and give them rewards, if someone's looking after a cost center only, you can't punish them for not making money. It sounds kind of obvious, but it's also something that has to be put into place. If they can decrease costs, reward them. If it's going to go into a profit center where there's both sales and costs, if they can bring up sales, reward them, and if they can decrease costs, reward them too. It also works vice versa. So if you're going to bring in a punish or a performance system, that can be there in place as well. Alright, let's have a look at the math of this stuff. Now you get the idea that there's cost centers and profit centers. We're going to have a look at three different areas that actually would be considered profit centers. There's both costs and profits. What do you do? So up on here we've got cement, we've got timber, and we've got steel. The idea is that they're selling these for $5, $10, and $5 going across, but they've got these variable costs, the raw materials. So the raw materials for the cement cost $2, the timber $5, and the steel $4. So the overall contribution is the 5 minus 2 gets me the 3, the 10 minus the 5 gets me the 5, and the 5 minus the 4 gets me the 1. It's pretty obvious maths, but I'm just spelling it out so everyone gets it. So if I'm going to be doing 100 sales, 200, 100, if I want to work out how much profit I'm actually making, I'm going to be doing my 3 times my 100, my 5 by my 200, and my 1 by my 100. And that'll result in this. What's my contribution for this particular line to profit? The actual contribution to this one is 300. This one's 1,000, that one's 100. 3 by 100, 300. 5 by the 2, 1,000. 1 by the 1 gets me the 100. At this stage, looking pretty good. They're all contributing to profit, which is a good sign. So we're definitely going to keep each of these divisions, and we might be able to reward these managers for making it all happen. The thing we haven't done yet is the total fixed costs. This is where it gets a bit tricky, so you have to bring in the full cost pricing. Let's imagine total fixed cost was $600, and because there are the 3 departments, if we do the 600 divided by the 3, it's going to be $200 per department. So 200, 200, 200. So if I do my 300 now minus my 200, it's $100 in there. That's how much overall profit that particular division is making for the company. We have the 1,000 minus the 200, so they're making 800. And down here we've got the 100 minus the 200, so you're actually losing $100 out of this department for doing steel. So now if we've done the actual contribution part, now to actually analyze our results and make a decision for it. When it's at 100, you should develop this. You're actually making some money, perhaps developing on changing the prices or changing the marketing strategy around our sales. Develop this business and you might be able to make some more profit. This one here at 800, this is great. Don't stuff around with these people. They're doing a good job. Maybe you can reward them for getting the 800. Maybe they can share their ideas with different areas of how they're bringing their sales up, because their sales are double in both areas. With the last area, because it's taking 100, this is where you have to make a tough decision and divest it or outsource it. Clearly the sales aren't making it, so the manager in charge of the sales team aren't doing enough, and the variable costs you're only getting $1 per unit contribution. So there's a real impact on here if the this division keeps going in the business. Alright, we'll have a look at some more stuff. So here's one for you, like a comparing stuff. What I'd like you to do is see if you can pause it here and work through the math and see how you go. Alright, so if we're going to determine which business has the best cost and profit structure, if I was doing the math for you, I'll do it nice and quick. 5 minus 1 gets me my 4. 4 by the 100 gets me my 400. If it's going to be the 900, dividing by the 3 areas, it's going to be 400 minus the 3, making $100. That's a good sign. Over here, this one's going to be 1, so 300, and it's going to be 300 down here from the 3 areas. I know it's getting a bit tricky, stay with me. 300 minus the 300 gives me 0. You may want to get rid of the hamburger section for Sam's Super Snacks. And for the fries, 2 minus the 1 gets me the 1, times by 200, so it's going to be 200. 200 minus the 300 full costing gets me a negative 100. So there's a real problem. You probably want to get rid of the fries, divest this out. Hot dogs alright making money, hamburgers seem to be not great, and the fries definitely get rid of it. For Sam's Super Snacks, it's not looking good right now. Look at Tom Hyperfood. 5 minus the 2 gets me the 3. 3 by the 300 gets me my 900. So if I'm going to do my 1500 divided by my 3, I'm going to get 500. So 900 minus the 5 gets me 400. I'm going to have here 1000. 1000 minus the 5 gives me 500. So these two are pretty good. Maybe maintain them, maybe develop them. Down here I've got the 5 minus the 1 is getting the 400. 400 minus 500 is making negative 100. So the fry section again for both businesses is not good. If I had to advise both Sam and Tom what to do, I would say with the hot dogs, you should maintain it or develop it, and the hamburgers and the fries I would divest. With the hot dogs and hamburgers, I would develop them and maintain them, and the fries I would divest. Comparing both businesses, Tom's Hyperfoods is doing better than Sam's Super Snacks. Alright, let's just go over the value of the profit and cost centers for a minute. Because the managers are being held accountable for what they're doing, and we saw in the profit center before, the managers have to make some tough decisions. For the ones that are obviously losing money, they're going to have to divest them and move them on, because they've been delegated the decision-making power from the shareholders to represent them. They have to make the decisions to divest out unprofitable and maintain and develop the ones that are profitable. We'll have a look at this bit here. So what can the managers actually do to make it better? Because they're talking about sales, and we're also talking about costs, what are some of the things we can do? So we can definitely link it to rewards, so the motivation in practice, you do a good job, you increase sales, we can do some Taylorism. We can link it to performance management, so if you're not actually meeting your targets, we can then probably potentially dismiss you. And the big idea is we can then compare with our competitors in benchmarking to find out what were they doing with the total variable, total fixed costs, maybe even with their sales, to find out where to go. So some strong values to businesses if they split up the cost and the profit centers into 2 areas, because it helps with the rewards, matching competitors, and also keeping track on your employees who've had power given to them through accountability and delegation. See, some of the challenges here though is it makes managers really focused on cost all the time. So I'm always looking at cost centers and cost centers. This can make sort of a tough environment to work in. If we're stressing this idea that costs need to be constantly controlled, Maslow might get affected with the security needs. People are always panicking, am I going to lose my job? Am I going to lose my job if I'm going to get dismissed? And also the hygiene factors that we're so focused on the money and the data that we're just moving away from the non-financial rewards. Because TFC can be given to all departments with the full costing, they might argue to say, look, my area is quite small. Why are you giving me an even spread with the other departments who use much greater floor space? So you could use absorption cost pricing and spread it around. The TVC is the same thing as well. Because they're given to the same departments going across, you might say, hold on, these are considered variable costs and not direct costs. If they were direct costs, I'd know as a department manager if this was directly impacting on my costs. If you have this blanket variable cost being put across all the areas, they get frustrated. If you could imagine that, say if you have some problems with your brothers and sisters and you all get the same punishment, even though one guy was doing a lot worse than you, would you be motivated and happy to get the same stuff? That's the idea here. Particularly when the budgets allocate everyone as the same way, or your parents treat you exactly the same as your brothers and sisters. Alright, I've got a question for you here looking at Walmart. If you want to go have a look through the Walmart stuff, take a tour of Walmart, type in the tiny URL, have a read over these, and the idea is for you to work out what the contribution analysis is like and make a decision based off the full cost pricing that they're going to do. Feel free to pause it now. Alright, with this area they've got Walmart stores, they've got Sam's Club, and they've got Walmart Fresh. So if we were to define a cost center, it's where costs can be directly attributed to. And it's a part of the business that's always making a cost, not necessarily a profit. All they have is total fixed costs and total variable. In this one here, because they're making sales in each areas, you wouldn't have any parts here in the Walmart structure. For the profit centers, because they're making sales and costs, all three of these areas will be profit centers within the Walmart organizational structure. So if we were to calculate these ones out, we're going to do 5 minus 2 gets me the 3, so I'm going to get myself my 9. So I'm going to have 9, I'm just going to use the round numbers here, so 9, I divide the 18 by the 3, so I'm going to get my 6. So I'm going to have 9 minus my 6 gets me the 300 million. So this area here, maintain or develop. With Sam's Club, I'm going to get my 5 times by my 2, so I'm getting my 1,000. 1,000 minus the 600 is getting me the 4. So out of the 4, maintain and develop. So maintain and develop, maintain and develop. Here we've got 5 minus 1, so I've got 1 times by the 4 is getting me the 400. 400 minus the 600, I'm getting negative 200. So the Walmart Fresh, possibly a division to divest, and Sam's Club and the Walmart stores to maintain and develop. On here for the 6 marks, you're going to get probably about 3 marks for the 3/4 for the calculation, and 2 marks for correctly analysing, maintain and develop, and this one here to divest. Okay, to finish up for today, have a go at the worksheet on the description bar down below and read through the IB questions in your textbooks. Have a read over your notes or in the stuff in the description bar below. Do you feel as though you can now talk about cost and profit centers? Do you can sort of see the point of why you have cost and profit centers? So if I've got my cost and I've got my profit, how do I motivate and communicate and keep these people happy, even though sometimes they're being treated with the same, they're being tarred with the same brush? And what's the whole point of doing contribution analysis to work out which products to actually keep? If they're going to end up being a positive and making good money, you want to maintain and develop them. But if they're going to get to the end and it's going to cost you money, you have to divest and move them on. Alright, that's it from me today, and I'll see you again in 5.3.